wish indeed.
Did you see how elusive I was?
Wow, you were so elusive.
Couldn't have been more elusive, to be perfectly honest.
So elusive.
So today we are, once again, watching an anime that came out last year. We tried to fit it in right before our 2024, like, best of show.
Yeah.
And
we got about halfway through.
And I would say this is not my favorite type of anime. And so because of that, we're like, it's probably not going to make our top 10, so let's just put pause on it right now.
Well, I mean, when you get, like, halfway through an anime, you know if it's going to make your top 10.
Yeah, exactly. So what are we talking about today?
The Elusive Samurai.
So this is an anime that is, I would say, unlike a lot of what we watch, pretty realistic. It is actually based on historical events and a historical character.
Yeah, it's a more fantastical version of actual history.
Yeah.
There's a bit more magic and stuff to it, but yeah, it's based on true events.
Like 1333 or around there. This kid, this 8-year-old, I think is when it starts, Tokiyuki, and he is the son of the shogun. Everything's great, and he's having a good time, and life is perfect. And then in the first episode, his father and his clan, they're overtaken. Those who aren't murdered commit suicide, and basically everyone's dead.
Yeah, everyone's wiped out, and he's, being chased for being a member of the shogunate family.
Because he could be the rightful heir.
Yeah.
He seeks refuge with this crazy priest that can see into the future. Pretty much from there, the show is that this priest and this kid, they are building this rebel uprising to go against the emperor and the people that destroyed his family.
Yeah.
So I think the reason why this didn't make last year's show, and I wasn't like, we have to put this in our top 10, is that I like positive wish fulfillment anime.
Yeah.
I like One Piece, I like Naruto, Frieren.
Yeah.
I like stuff that is overall positive, and even though there are dark moments, it still has that vibe of like, this is a good time.
Well, there's also things, you like things that are dark, Death Note and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between that and something that, watching a child have to build an army to take down the people that murdered his family. And it's not just, that it's dark. The violence is there. They show the blood. They show how violent these things are.
Yeah, this is the type of anime that I haven't seen in a long time. So it's Crunchyroll has it as 16 plus, which I think is fair. But this reminds me of anime in the 90s.
Yeah.
Anime back in the Berserk era or the Ninja Scroll era.
Yes.
Where it's the bad guys are so repellent and evil. They're basically demons.
Yeah.
They are torturing and murdering. They are assaulting. They are mutilating and enslaving children. It is so bad how bad the bad guys are. And setting it in the real world. It's funny, in Demon Slayer, when the demons are doing evil stuff, it's they're demons.
They're demons, yeah.
But when it's real people who are in a place of power, it essentially it's like Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah, well, it is, but you're right. When it's in a historical, real context and things like that, it's no, things like that really did happen.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes it just hits too close when you're things like that still happen.
And 100%. Yeah, so for me, it sort of takes away the escapism of it all, because
Totally.
it's that's kind of why I watch a lot of anime.
Yeah, so I think that's sort of why we stopped, halfway through and waited to finish it.
Yeah.
That being said, one of the things that really stood out from the start were the visuals.
Oh my god.
The visuals of this anime are gorgeous.
It's amazing.
There's such art put into the animation, and there's just these moments of horror that are so beautiful.
I mean, I think that we both agree that it might be the best looking anime of 2024.
Yeah.
I know Frieren looked great and Soul Leveling looked great, but there's something about this animation that's unbelievable. And what's funny though too is even though it is very violent and there are moments that are so dark, there's also some extremely funny moments.
Yeah.
The priest is so unbelievably extra all the time.
All the time.
He's very funny, kind of a goofball.
Yeah, well, it's he jumps in and he's hey!
Yeah, he's freaking out, and it's all the animation around him. So, and I think that's the other reason why it was such a weird thing. For instance, so you brought up Death Note, right?
Yeah.
Death Note is in its gear.
Yeah.
Death Note is if you go to a goth club, you're gonna see goths.
Yeah.
Death Note, you know what you're getting into. With this, it's I'm having fun, and I'm a boy, and oh, my teachers can't catch me.
Yeah.
And then everyone dies and commits suicide, and the guys are laughing, talking about how they're going to rip the teeth out of children and sell them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then you're like, oh my God, this is the scariest thing ever. And then the priest is here, and he's like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
We're going to be best friends. And you're just like, you don't know what is emotionally happening
it's
sometimes.
True. The priest is also, on a different side of things, priest is also really funny because they use him as a way to address certain things. So it's like there's one point where there's a dog hunt that's happening, and it's a thing, that would be a thing that would have happened historically.
Yeah.
But the priest is like, I see the future, and in the future, this will not be okay.
Yeah,
people will not be okay with this.
It's totally.
Like they address the things that are totally unacceptable in modern society by having the priest, being able to see that far in the future.
Yeah, he can sort of break the fourth wall when it comes to that stuff, and yeah, I agree, and I think that stuff's really funny. And I like him a lot. I think he's really funny and really weird. I mean, he's got that kind of crazy sensei thing a lot of shonen manga do. I like a lot of his retainers. I mean, it's funny. We've been watching a lot of shows recently, and even some of the great ones like One Piece. You get these shows where like it's like a kid and he collects like all the best people who have certain skills.
Yeah.
It's funny for me. I didn't really like the show until I think episode 5. Whenever the thief showed up.
Yeah.
Whenever Gemba showed up, I like him a lot, and I really liked that episode, and I think that's when the show really picked up steam for me.
Yeah.
And then I think after that, like I really loved it.
Yeah, no, the different people that are part of his team are interesting. You're right. The Genba, when Genba showed up, it just brought things to a more interesting level.
Yeah.
Because before that, the people of his team were just sort of like, no, they just are part of his team.
Yeah.
It was they were sort of set up by the priest. These are the people that you'll be working with.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting thing because he's, like you said, he's got all these people that have certain skills. He himself, his best skill is running away.
Yeah.
That's, it's why
the Elusive Samurai.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Tokiyuki.
Yeah. So it's a really interesting thing, the way that they have to sort of play with that and play with the fact that like evading capture, evading hits, is his biggest talent, and the way that they use that for how he has to like defeat his enemies is really interesting.
I think that's the other thing too. I think I really had to sort of take my like normal shonen like brain out and put in a different thing, because all of the ones we like, One Piece, Naruto, Windbreakers, they're all like characters who are offensively tough, and they go after the bad guys, and this is a character who is, his main skill is being able to run away. It's Eye Shield 21, the first few episodes of Eye Shield 21,
totally.
Right? And so you get a character where you're sort of like, he has to be protected a lot, and I think that's kind of weird. I'm having like flashbacks of trying to save Ashley in Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
But then of course that sort of changes as he kind of like gets new skills and stuff. I believe when he started being a little less helpless, is when I really liked the show. Midway through, he starts getting cooler. Yeah. I think that's the main thing. I think like you start One Piece and Naruto, and those guys are already cool. Windbreakers, he's already cool.
Yeah.
And even in these ridiculous isekai, it's the joke is that he's normal and not cool, but he has some special power which makes him cool. In this, it's like he wasn't cool for half the season, and it was like I was like, who? And none of the other people. There was like the wacky priest, but all the other people were like so sincere.
Yeah.
That's why I liked Genba. I was like, oh, finally somebody's coming in with skills, but he's like kind of doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And
he's only doing it for the money.
Yeah, he's got that Han Solo thing. Where like he's his own man, he's a renegade, but like he's part of the team because it's what works best for him.
Yeah.
And I also like him visually. I like his ridiculous mask that's always smiling, that big cat smile or whatever it is. And I like that he's always upside down.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because he's always like hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah.
It's great.
And then later on they get a character named Fubuki I really like a lot too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also, an interesting thing because, like we said, it's based on actual events in history, and it's like you wonder which side history really lies with. Takayuki is the kid that we're following. Takuji is the guy that destroyed his home and his family and his clan. He was someone who had been a hero to his clan previously.
Yeah.
Became disillusioned with it or wanted to take over.
He comes off as kind of a psycho.
Yeah.
Very evil. It almost reminds me of Demon Slayer because every character is a demon, like every one of the bad guys, but he happens to be an actual adult.
Yeah. The other thing is that, with the characters and the visuals, going back to that, is, they do a really interesting thing where different characters, they sort of have these interesting things, the villains. Interesting, weird things to them, but that represent, what they do or who they are.
Like the guy with the eyes.
Yeah.
Like the archer with the eyes, and his eyes are like sticking out of his head, and which means he can see, like, if a gnat is male or female. Yeah, no, or the guy with perfect hearing that has like that has a little mouth in his ears that talks. Yeah. And I like that. I like that sort of symbolism. And like you said earlier, the priest being able to see the future. So there is magic. And he talked about that in one of the last episodes of, like, this is the final era of magic.
Yeah.
And I like that they're mixing that stuff in there because I always think that helps. Because ultimately, I think an anime that is only in the real world is dry and the expectations are really high. For me, I think like Monster is the only one I can remember I was watching recently that was in the real world.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of expectations of like people doing backflips and, in like cutting off heads with swords and stuff.
Yeah, that wasn't like... That's the only one that wasn't just a regular slice of life.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks amazing. It's super dark. Once it gets going, it's really, really good. I think if you're into Ghost of Tsushima, feudal samurai era, it's cool.
The art of it is incredible. Oh, it's also the manga of it. It's by the same guy that did Assassination Classroom, right?
Yeah, the same creator, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I think if you're into Demon Slayer, but you want the real world version of Demon Slayer, this is definitely a show for you.
Yeah.
I think if you're into like super positive stuff like I am, like One Piece, Naruto, stuff like that, I think it's like it's harder. Like basically this show, I've been thinking about this recently. A lot of season 2s recently are very dark.
Yeah.
Compared to season 1s. Like Soul Leveling season 2 is way darker. JJK season 2 is like
so dark.
Unbelievably dark. And I really feel like this show like starts off like JJK season 2.
Yeah.
Like it starts in the dark, even though there are like cute kid moments. And I think that's the other thing too. It's like, it's almost like, Stranger Things in a way. Like Stranger Things like has these kids, but like a lot of the violence and stuff is like a little older than like than kids their age would be watching.
Yeah, totally.
And I think that's also what's sort of interesting about the show.
For sure.
All right, well, Elusive Samurai, we watch it on Crunchyroll. I don't know if it's anywhere else. You can find it.
Let us know what your favorite anime based on actual historical events is.
Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I like that quite a bit. Please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.